Shocking, when the billionaire's paralyzed daughter's party is empty, a poor woman asks to join. The opulent hall sparkled under the glittering chandeliers, but not a single soul was present. Velvet drapes swayed gently, mocking the lavish decorations, mocking the quiet. Tara, the paralyzed daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the country, sat alone, the weight of her family's expectations pressing on her like a heavy cloak. Her heart raced as she felt the chilling cold of isolation creep into her skin. How could this happen? The grand event, planned for months, was supposed to be a night's tale of glitz and glamour. Yet, here she was, alone, with only the sound of her own breathing echoing in the emptiness, but something strange was brewing outside the gilded doors. A mismatched woman in tattered clothes approached, her hair unkempt and eyes glistening with raw determination. It was as if the universe conspired to add a dash of chaos. The guests, so wrapped up in their lives of privilege, had all forgotten to arrive. And here stood Sophia, the poor woman, a bold spark against the sea of opulence that surrounded her. "Can I join?" she asked, her voice trembling yet fierce, piercing through the thick air of splendor. Sparks flew as curiosity ignited around, the silence shattered momentarily by the absurdity of the request. A mixture of shock and resentment rippled through the space. Voices murmured. Who did she think she was? Tara's chest tightened, her internal conflict raging like a storm. Who was this woman, and why was she here? The tension thickened as Tara's gaze bore into Sophia's, questioning. Was this a chance encounter or something written in the stars? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as the whispers reached a fever pitch, a shadow passed over Sophia's face. What was she hiding? The air shimmered with tension. Would Tara embrace this unlikely ally, or push her back into the shadows? In that instant, tears burned in Tara's eyes, and she witnessed a mirrored fragility that made her heart ache. What if this moment changed everything? Both women stood on a precipice, two vastly different worlds about to collide. As the last echoes of laughter rang hollow in the banquet hall, all eyes turned towards Sophia, the outsider seeking warmth in the frozen atmosphere. Would she step forward or retreat? What secrets would unravel when the party, meant for the elite, found itself in the grip of an outsider? The two women, so different and yet so alike, faced each other. The night was only just beginning, and the possibilities seemed endless. Tara's heart raced as she stared at the wild-eyed woman in front of her. The whispers crackled like fire in a dry forest. What was happening? She felt a flutter in her chest. It was a mix of fear and excitement, stirring something deep inside her. This was no ordinary interruption. It felt monumental. Please, Sophia pressed, her voice low yet steady, I'm just looking for a place to belong, even if just for a moment. The crowd drew closer, and their expressions morphed into an ugly cocktail of judgment. Tara felt their scorn, like icy daggers in her back. Who was this woman to think she deserved a slice of this gilded life? And yet Tara could sense something within Sophia that resonated, an authentic spark of life that warmed the frosty room around them. Could she let this stranger in? Would embracing this messy, chaotic woman mean acknowledging her own loneliness? Why are you really here? Tara asked, her voice trembling as she broke the silence. Sophia lifted her chin, the determination in her eyes simmering with a cocktail of vulnerability. Because I know what it's like to be invisible. When you walk in the world with nothing, people only see the dirt on your shoes, not the dreams in your heart. Tara blinked away tears, struck by the truth. It felt like Sophia reached into her chest and pulled out that nagging sense of solitude. The allure of Sophia's honesty drew her in, but the wall of privilege kept her anchored to her seat. The weight of expectation loomed over her like a storm cloud. What would her father think? Enough. A voice rang out, cutting through the tension like glass shattering. It was Amelia, Tara's older sister, the epitome of what wealth could mold. Her perfectly coiffed hair shimmered, but her smile twisted into a sneer. You think you can just stroll in here? This is a party for elegance, not for you. The room gasped collectively. Sophia shrank a little but held her ground, her hands balling into fists at her sides. Tara's pulse quickened. She couldn't just sit back and let this happen. Sophia could be the one to bring life to this party, Tara said, her voice barely above a whisper yet laced with a newfound boldness. Maybe we all need someone like her right now. Tara's words hung in the air, heavy and raw. All eyes turned to her, incredulous. Would she truly risk her reputation for a stranger? Could she push back against the very system that had confined her since she could remember? Stop, just stop. Amelia's shout snapped Tara back to reality. You're being ridiculous. What's next? Are we going to let everyone from the street waltz in? Sophia's eyes glimmered with a mix of hope and disbelief. Tara felt the old tightness in her throat throb as more murmurs filled the room. She hadn't only challenged her sister, she had questioned her world. Tara's gaze flickered from one face to another, searching for support, but what met her was a sea of scorn. Was she truly alone in this moment? Maybe I should just go, Sophia started, her voice trailing off, the light of hope flickering in her eyes. No. Tara cried, the words bursting from her lips. You deserve to be here. We all do. And just like that, the door creaked open with a deafening slam, inviting a blast of chilly wind that swept through the hall, dampening the spark of hope. In the shadows stood a tall figure, masked by the darkness beyond, a presence shrouded in mystery. Tara's heart skipped. Who was this new player? What secrets lingered beyond the threshold? The night's tension thickened, swirling with uncertainty. Was this crowd's embarrassment about to explode? And what about Tara's gamble? In her quest to welcome Sophia, had she triggered something far worse? Just as panic threatened to engulf the atmosphere, the figure stepped forward. Everything she knew was about to change. Who was this stranger, and how would their arrival reshape the evening? The air was tense, thick with uncertainty. Tara couldn't tear her gaze away from the shadowy figure that moved in slow, deliberate steps. The crowd parted slightly, revealing a man dressed in an elegant, sharply tailored suit that seemed to absorb the dim light around him. He was striking, with sharp features and piercing eyes that glinted like they were carved from ice. Sophia, Tara whispered, a nervous chill creeping up her spine. She felt the weight of her choice, heavier than before. This stranger had a presence that felt almost magnetic, and it drew all eyes to him. Who are you? Amelia demanded, her bravado faltering as she stepped forward, suddenly dwarfed by the newcomer's stature and confidence. Names mean little in this world, he said coolly, his voice smooth like velvet. But I can assure you, I'm someone who understands the value of being seen. He turned his gaze towards Sophia, tilting his head as if studying her. And the pain of being invisible. A murmur rippled through the room, faces contorting in shock and intrigue. What did that mean? Who was this man? Tara felt her throat tighten again, a knot of anxiety forming. She sensed Sophia's confusion too, a flicker of hope battling against the questions swirling like a tempest. Why are you here? Tara's voice broke through the murmur, rising with a sudden force she didn't know she possessed. What do you want with us? He stepped closer, the click of his polished shoes echoing in the hushed room. I'm here because I thought I might witness something worth my time. He paused, eyes scanning the sea of hesitant faces. Someone challenging the status quo, perhaps. Tara could hardly breathe. His gaze swept across the gathering like a spotlight, igniting uncertainty among the partygoers. It was as if he stripped away the layers of wealth and pretense, revealing raw humanity branding them all. I stand for the underdogs, he continued, those who don't have a voice. What do you mean? Sophia asked, her voice shaky yet resolute as if she, too, felt the gravity of the moment. He smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. I mean that the world loves a good story. Stories of resilience, of stepping outside the rich tapestry of privilege. He locked eyes with Tara, the heat of his gaze making her pulse race. Your sister here fears her own decay while looking down on others. But sometimes they are the ones who teach us how to truly live. With a flick of his wrist, he motioned to the door, now swinging slightly, as if whispering against the wind. Do any of you know what it feels like to be cast aside? To witness the beauty of life yet feel chained to expectations? Sophia's eyes shimmered with understanding, the tension in her shoulders easing as she stood straighter. I do. The man's icy expression softened, if only for a split second, before returning to his unreadable facade. Then, he said, perhaps there's still hope left for all of us. In that moment, Tara glimpsed a possibility, a gasp of air amidst the submerged weight of silence. The line dividing the privileged and the disadvantaged blurred, and she hung on the precipice of revelation. But with that potential came a different fear. Had she just united with Sophia, or had she unwittingly stacked the odds against herself? Amidst the shifting crowd, a low voice broke through the murmurings. What is this? Who invited him? It was Amelia again, her voice sharp as glass. Suddenly, Tara's heart raced, and dread gripped her. The last thing they needed was a confrontation. What did this man's presence mean for her sister's upcoming tirade? Would this stranger further tear them apart or lead them to something unexpected? Just as her mind began spiraling with possibilities, the man took another step forward, his voice hushed yet commanding. The question is not who invited me but who dares to listen to their deeper truths. And with that, the tension snapped like taut string, leaving Tara suspended between fear and a rush of hope. Would they dig deeper into themselves, or would they self-destruct under the weight of their own prejudices? The air tingled with the vitality of confrontation. Tara took a breath, preparing to dive into the unknown. Because at that moment, everything changed, or at least, it could. Would this gathering lead to redemption, or would it reveal the cracks in their facades, threatening to bring everything crashing down? The room felt electric, alive with the weight of everyone's breath. Tara could hear her own heartbeat, pounding in her ears. A glance at Sophia revealed the spark kindling in her sister's eyes. They were in uncharted territory, and a part of Tara wanted to reach for that hope. Yet, uncertainty stifled her, holding her back like chains. Who do you think you are? Amelia's voice sliced through the atmosphere. The tension shifted in her direction, a ripple of dislikes and confusion rising among the other guests. This confrontation was escalating. I'm a storyteller, he said, unwavering. A man who believes in unveiling the truths people prefer to hide away. Why not start here, in this affluent bubble where everyone seems so comfortable? It's a perfect stage to explore the narratives that go untold. Is that your plan? To come here, play mind games, and ignite a revolution? Amelia shot back, her bravado now tangled with disbelief. She took a step forward, inching between the man and Sophia as if she might physically shield her sister from whatever chaos was brewing. The man chuckled softly, but it was devoid of joy. Instead, it carried an eerie calmness, like the quiet before a storm. Amusing how quickly people forsake candor for comfort. But I'm not here to stir the pot or seek confrontation, Amelia. I simply want the truth to emerge. Perhaps that's something even you can understand. Was he really challenging their carefully curated lives? Tara felt a riot of emotions coursing through her: anger, confusion, and a desperate need for clarity. She felt like their lives had suddenly turned into a game, a dangerous gamble she hadn't signed up for. You think you can just walk in here and judge us? Tara's voice trembled, carrying the sharp edge of uncertainty. No judgment, my dear, he replied, turning his piercing gaze back to her, igniting something deep within. Only truth. And truth can be liberating, or it can be a mirror that reflects all the flaws we wish to ignore. You have to decide which path you want to take. A few guests murmured among themselves, shifting glances between each other and the stranger. Doubt was creeping in. The atmosphere thickened, filling with an uneasy exhilaration. Tara could practically hear their thoughts. What truth? About what? Let us say you're right, Sophia spoke up suddenly, her voice steady yet layered with rich emotion. Let us say we strip everything to bare bones. What then? What is your endgame? The man stepped closer, each of his movements measured, deliberate. There's power in vulnerability, Sophia. It opens doors. It allows connections. If we're willing to confront our shadows together, maybe we can emerge transformed. This wasn't just about them anymore. Tara felt herself caught in a tidal wave of change, the whispers of something profound trembling at the edges of her conscience. Could they really face their truths together? Suddenly, the door swung open, and chaos ensued. The crowd gasped as a flash of bright violence intruded upon their fine gathering. A disheveled figure stumbled into the room, drenched in a mixture of rain and sweat, eyes wild with desperation. Please. Her voice pierced the air, raw and cracked. I need help, I don't know where else to go. The panic rippled through the crowd. Amelia's face contorted into shock, Tara's heart raced as she met the newcomer's terrified gaze. In that moment, everything shifted. The party's facade shattered, and stark reality crashed down upon them. Tara could feel the tension coiling tighter with every heartbeat. How would her sister react? Would they turn away, or would they embrace this moment of truth? The man looked from the frantic woman to the crowd, an inscrutable expression on his face. Was it triumph or something darker? Tara's breath hitched. She grasped Sophia's arm, uncertainty bleeding into dread. Could they turn toward this raw vulnerability, or would they shut down, retreating into their gilded walls? Everything felt on the brink. What would they choose? The atmosphere quaked, poised for the next shocking turn. Would they allow compassion to bridge the divide, or would fear lock them once more into silence? The room fell silent, the kind of silence that weighs heavy, almost unbearable. Guests exchanged glances, faces pale but eyes wide, caught between shock and curiosity. Tara could feel the heartbeat of the moment pulse against her skin. Please, the woman repeated, her voice trembling now, eyes darting like a frightened animal's, searching for any flicker of empathy. I don't have anywhere else to go, I just need a moment of kindness. Amelia's brow furrowed, confusion battling her instinct to protect. Tara could sense her sister getting ready to push past this chaos, to shield their world from the harsh reality that had just thrown itself against them. But Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady yet gentle, cutting through the thick tension like a blade. We can't just ignore her, she urged, looking back at the crowd. What if this is about something deeper? The stranger's head lifted, shock mingling with the glimmer of what appeared to be hope. Tara's heart twisted. Could this sudden disruption be a catalyst for something profound? Deeper? Amelia scoffed, rolling her eyes. What does that even mean? The man stood back, quietly observing the unfolding tension. His gaze flicked between the frantic woman and the guests who were now whispering amongst themselves, each murmuring their opinions as if voting on the woman's worthiness. Maybe we should hear her out, the man finally said, his voice smooth and calm, overshadowing the ceaseless hum of uncertainty. After all, it seems she's already broken through the walls you all have so nicely built. The word broken echoed around the room, and a shiver raced down Tara's spine. Was it too late to back away? Too late to retreat into ignorance? Listen, the woman gasped, desperation saturating her words. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just trying to survive. I've lost everything. The anguish in her voice resonated, a striking reminder of the fragility of life, and Tara's heart ached in response. Just get her out of here. A voice barked from the back, thick with disdain, causing a ripple of agreement among some guests. Tara put her hand on Sophia's arm, squeezing hard. "What do we do?" she whispered, but deep down, she already feared the answer. They were already teetering on an emotional precipice, and one misplaced push could send everything tumbling into chaos. "Are you all truly so satisfied?" the man asked, his voice cutting through their doubts. "So wrapped in wealth that you can't see the humanity in front of you? Isn't that the real question?" As he spoke, Tara's eyes flicked between him and the vulnerable woman, realizing this was no longer a simple confrontation. This was a challenge to their very identities. How had they lost sight of what mattered? Amelia clenched her jaw, eyes narrowing, her fingers curling into fists. She was losing ground, and everyone felt the shift. The silence began to crack under its own weight, fear now palpable. What was the price of their silence, the value of their comfort, if a life stood before them pleading for mercy? Tara inhaled sharply, feeling her chest tight, caught between a camp of fear and the yearning to do something meaningful. "Maybe we can help her," Sophia's voice rang out, eventually silencing the room. "Help?" Amelia's laughter was harsh, mixed with disbelief. "You're seriously considering this?" "Yes." Tara found her voice, rising from the shadows of doubt. "We can't just turn our backs." The crowd was watching, breaths held in anticipation of their collective decision. The man's lips curled into an almost imperceptible smile as if he knew this was the moment the cards would shuffle. Tara's heart raced, the atmosphere twisted with expectation. Would they reach out and pull this woman up, or would they close the door, sealing themselves off from truth once more? Was this the moment that would change everything? Outside, the night was thunderous, rain pouring down desperately against the windows. But inside, it felt like a storm was building in their hearts, waiting for a sign. Tara turned to face the crowd, breaths hitching as she searched every face. "This is our chance to be more than we are," she implored. Would they take that chance? The man's eyes flickered with something she couldn't quite read. Was it excitement? Anticipation? As uncertainty loomed, one question broke free amongst the others: would anyone take the leap, or would they remain shackled to their fears and privilege? The answer hung just out of reach, potent and enticing. Would tonight be the night when they chose humanity over comfort? The silence cracked, shattering into countless uneasy whispers. Tara felt the collective gaze of the room land heavily on her shoulders, every eye gauging, weighing her resolve. She stood firm, but inside, doubts clawed at her mind. How had it come to this? One woman's plea had pulled them into uncharted territory, threatening to expose their carefully curated lives. "Look at her." Amelia's voice sliced through the murmurs, laced with scorn. "You really think helping her will change anything? She's just a charity case." Tara's heart raced as a tension-filled silence enveloped them once more. The man's gaze remained steady, challenging, flickering with a mix of amusement and concern. The woman, clad in tattered clothing, seemed smaller now, her spirit dimming amid the judgments swirling around her like a storm. "How can you say that?" Sophia shot back, her voice gaining strength. "Every one of us could end up in a situation like hers. What happened to compassion?" The room stilled, uncertain and teetering. A man in the corner, a regular at these sorts of gatherings, snorted derisively. "Compassion? What's that going to get us? A bunch of chaos? Maybe it's better if we keep our distance." "Better for whom?" Tara's voice rang out, cutting through the thickening dread. "Better for you? Or for us as a community? Look at her. She's begging for dignity." Each syllable felt like a heartbeat, echoing through the silence as she pointed emphatically at the woman, whose eyes now glistened with unshed tears. "You don't know anything about her. What if she's dangerous?" Another voice chimed from the back, stoking the fears of the already uneasy crowd. The urgency twisted tighter around Tara's chest. "Dangerous?" she scoffed, breathless with frustration. "The only danger here is the apathy we choose to embrace." It was wild now, Tara's emotions flowed freely, like the rain crashing against the windows. "This isn't just about her. It's about us, what we stand for. Amelia's face flushed with anger, her eyes narrowing. And we lose everything we've worked for. You think being a do-gooder makes you better? It only puts you in the line of fire. Tara could feel the heat of confrontation building. Who in this room was truly the greater risk? Did wealth breed fear? Or was it the refusal to recognize another's humanity? Caught in the crossfire, the woman remained still, her chest heaving, eyes darting between the sisters. With a trembling voice, she finally spoke again, I am not here to harm anyone. I just want to feel safe. I came here hoping you could help me find a way. A flash of unexpected emotion surged through Tara. She had felt that very feeling, a deep longing for safety, for kindness. Wouldn't they all, given the right circumstances, feel lost and hopeless? Her thoughts raced, weaving through memories of late nights spent feeling powerless against life's cruel winds. Amelia's defenses were wavering. Maybe we could, give her some resources or something, a meal, and then, send her on her way. Tara noticed Sophia's hopeful nod, but there was still a chasm of misunderstanding lingering in the air. Many seemed still rooted in their selfish desires, unwilling to budge. Suddenly, the man stepped closer, exuding power without saying a word. What if you all truly listened? What if you opened not just your minds but your hearts? She has a story, and perhaps she could change the way you see the world. His voice had shifted, it was no longer merely calm, it was compelling. I never thought, one young woman in the crowd whispered, uncertainty rippling through her. That single flicker was like a lit match in darkness. It ignited something fierce inside Tara, a desperation to break through the numbness. We have a choice. Together, we can forge a path, one that shows that we care. She glanced at the stranger, whose eyes held a glint of hope amidst despair. The room shifted, people shifted. Something tangible rippled through the crowd. With every breath, Tara felt the stakes escalate, the atmosphere growing more charged. Would they unite for the splintering woman before them, or would they sink back into the comfort of their indifference? As the rain drummed heavier outside, a fracture appeared among the once solid wall of their convictions. And Tara realized this was the moment the question hung suspended above them all like an intangible weight, unwavering and immense. Would they decide to change the course of this night, or would they let fear hold them hostage yet again? The silence stretched, every eye was fixed on the woman, waiting for her to speak once more. What would she say to a room filled with both uncertainty and fragility? Each of them knew that whatever unfolded next, it could alter everything permanently. The moment swayed, balanced on a thread, and then, suddenly, the lights flickered. A burst of anxiety gripped the room as the unexpected chaos escalated, plunging everybody into shadows and whispers of dread. And then the loud crash, an eerie sound echoing from the corner of the room, a shattering of glass. What was waiting for them in the dark? The room erupted in chaos, each person instinctively stepping backward, eyes wide with shock and fear. The cracks in the ambience enlarged as darkness swallowed them whole, only the flashes of distant lightning running through the windows illuminating startled faces. Tara's pulse quickened. She lunged instinctively toward the woman, determined to shield her from whatever dread lay in the unsettled shadows. Her voice rang out, bordering on frantic. Is everyone okay? What was that? Amelia, anchored against the wall, pressed her palm to her chest as if willing her heartbeat to calm. It's probably just the storm, right? The tremble in her voice betrayed her more than her bravado. The others murmured, eyes darting to and fro, hunting for some source of normalcy amidst the tension. Sophia squinted, trying to peer into the darkness. Maybe we should check it out. The stranger's eyes flared with a spark of awareness, trembling but fiercely intent. No. Don't go near it. Her voice surged through threads of fear and desperation, pinning everyone in their spots. Tara could feel the energy shift, it morphed from one of confusion to something sharper, more palpable. What's happening? A heavy-set man shouted, straining to keep the panic at bay. Someone needs to turn the lights back on. Without a moment's hesitation, the man who had been watching silently stepped forward, his silhouette emerging briefly in the flashes of light. I can handle it. Everyone stay here. Tara's heart raced. As he moved towards the door leading into the hallway, the flickering lights illuminated the group's collective anxiety. It was a dance of shadows, their panic morphing into a unified energy that held them together, even as it threatened to pull them apart. Wait! Tara shouted, her voice slicing through the rising tide of anxiety. We need to stick together. Don't. Just before she could finish, the figure disappeared into the darkness beyond the threshold of the doorway. The ominous silence that followed was almost tangible, a breathing entity that seeped into the corners of the room like an unwelcome specter. Amelia clutched Sophia's arm. This is insane. Why aren't we? Before she could voice her concern, a faint scuffle echoed from the hallway. Tara felt her breath hitch, tension lay thick in the air, creeping beneath her skin like an encroaching frost. The woman stood by Tara, her fearful gaze fixed on the door, as if sensing a presence lurking just beyond. Then the lights blared back on abruptly, flooding the room in a stark glow. Relief washed over the crowd like a bomb, but they hadn't fully contained the dread. The shadows still loomed, remnants of fear dancing ephemerally. What is going on? One woman whimpered, blinking against the harsh light, and then someone shouted, "Look!" Pointing at a darker figure that had emerged from the hallway, a silhouette with an unmistakable tension in his posture. It was the man, his shirt now torn, a sheen of sweat glistening across his brow. Tara's heart plunged. He was gripping something tightly in his hand, something dark and glistening. I caught him! He yelled, his voice a mix of triumph and terror as he yanked the figure fully into the light. It was a man, a scraggly, disheveled figure, his eyes wild, sweat pouring down his face. He was in here trying to wait. Tara interjected, holding out her hands to stop him. What is happening? Why were you? But before she could finish, the stranger in rags lunged forward, eyes darting wildly around the room. Please just listen. I didn't want to break in. A group of shouts erupted, accusations flying, fingers pointing. The tension spiraled out of control as fear mounted, reaching a deafening crescendo. Tara felt the weight of the moment bear down upon her, a festering uncertainty gripping her resolve. Enough! Tara nearly screamed, suppressing the rising tide of panic. What do you want? Silence enveloped the room again, a taut string ready to snap. The man's wild gaze turned toward Tara, a flicker of desperation mingled with something else, hope. I just need help. Please, you don't understand. He let the words spill out, thin and ragged, as he sank to his knees, the weight of the world resting heavily on his shoulders. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for Tara to respond, muscles coiled tight and hearts racing, on the brink of something far greater than fear, something like destiny. Would they stay paralyzed by fear, or would they take a chance on the unknown? The air crackled with tension, so thick it felt suffocating. Tara could see the flickers of doubt flash in her companion's eyes. The man, frayed and desperate, was not just asking for help, he was begging for a lifeline. Help? A woman gasped, stepping back as if the word itself was a weapon. Why should we help you? You broke in. I didn't mean to. I swear. He lifted his hands, palms open as if to show he was unarmed. I followed the noise, the storm. I thought you were in danger, too. The ragged breaths escaping his lips were almost a whisper, filled with an urgency that seeped into the room. Danger? Amelia asked, glancing at Tara. From what? From them. The man pointed a shaking finger towards the darkness that lay beyond the light. They're coming for you, for all of you. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Tara felt a chill tight around her chest. Who? She pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. Who's coming? The man's eyes darted around, searching for something, someone to believe him. The shadows, they're not just storms or tricks of the light. They're real. They feed on fear. I saw one, it dragged my friend away, he was never seen again. Fear gnawed at his features, transforming him from a desperate stranger to something hauntingly relatable, a fellow human being swept into chaos. Sophia folded her arms tightly. This is insane. You expect us to believe some horror story because you're scared. But Tara felt different. She was caught somewhere between skepticism and belief. There was a raw honesty in the man's voice, one that ignited something in her core. What if he was right? What if the shadows were waiting, feeding off their dread? Listen, Tara said firmly, drawing the attention of the room back to her. I know this is crazy. But we've endured something unnatural tonight. If we move together, we're stronger. What if we look for answers instead of pointing fingers? A heavy pause settled, filled with hesitant glances and uncertainty. Were they really ready to gamble their safety on the words of a stranger? The man leaned closer. You think I'm mad? You don't have to believe me. Just follow me, please. You'll see. Amelia shook her head. We can't just follow him into the dark. Do you want to wait here? We can pretend nothing's happening. Or we can figure this out. Tara's voice cut through the haze of fear, her resolve electrifying the space around them. The flickering light seemed to dim as if the shadows were listening, lingering just beyond the illuminated boundary. Okay, Tara said, a quick exhale escaping her lips. Let us give him a chance. At least we'll know what we're dealing with. With a tide of silent agreement washed across the group, they edged closer to the doorway, the tension thick as molasses. The man nodded, his breath heavier, his body trembling with a mixture of gratitude and terror. Trust me, he whispered, stepping back into the shadowed corridor. As they moved into the dark, something unexplainable settled in Tara's gut, an unshakable feeling that they were stepping into a conspiracy deeper than the storm. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to turn back, but the call of the unknown had her tethered tightly. The shadows stretched and coiled, whispering promises and threats as they approached the narrow hallway. Who or what awaited them at the end? Then came a thunderous bang, jolting through the silence and marking a shift. The walls seemed to tremble beneath their feet, shaking loose the reality they thought they understood. What was that? Amelia shrieked, stumbling backward. Stay close. Tara shouted, her voice carrying through the din, but uncertainty clawed at her, knowing they were no longer in control, and as they reached the end of the hallway, a bright light beckoned them in a portal to revelations or horrors that lay ahead. Would they emerge with answers, or would fear consume them all? They stepped into the light, its intensity blinding for a moment. Tara squinted, trying to make sense of the scene unfolding before her. They found themselves in a vast chamber, its walls covered in strange, pulsating shadows that writhed like living things. The air was thick with an electric charge, buzzing in her bones, and a strange hum reverberated through the space. Is this it? Sophia's voice quivered, breaking the spellbound silence as her eyes widened at the bizarre spectacle. Yes, the man replied, his voice low, drenched in awe and fear. This is where it all happens. Where they come? What are you talking about? Tara asked, her heart racing. Who comes? Things you don't understand. Things that shouldn't exist. He stepped forward, and the shadows flickered around him like they were alive. I saw them, felt them take my friend. We need to be fast. Amelia glanced back at the doorway they had just passed through. What do we do now? We can't just stand here. But even as she spoke, the shadows became restless. They flowed along the edges of the chamber, gently tugging at the light and drawing it into the darkness. Tara's breath hitched in her throat, her instincts screamed for her to flee, but she pressed forward instead, driven by an odd mix of fear and curiosity. What if we wait? Tara suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. What if they won't hurt us? Or what if they're waiting to pounce? Sophia retorted, her eyes darting anxiously around the room. It could be a trap. Sure, the man raised a hand, and they all fell silent. The hum grew louder, vibrating against their skin. Each second felt like a lifetime, stretching out into a taut string of uncertainty. Then, out of the shadows, came a soft slithering sound, echoing as if a great beast were stirring from slumber. Do you hear that? Amelia's voice trembled as she gripped Tara's arm. Yes, Tara breathed. The tremor in her hands mirrored the unease pooling in her stomach. The shadows curled, drawing closer, and the light began to flicker, creating a strobe effect that pulsed rhythmically. We need to suddenly, a figure materialized from the darkness. It was tall, almost humanoid, but its shape felt wrong. Its limbs stretched like shadows, contorted in ways that sent shivers of dread through Tara's spine. The face was a void, an absence of features with deep-set eyes that chasmed light instead of reflecting it. Welcome to my domain. Its voice rippled through the chamber, cold and hollow. Run! The man shouted, sprinting back toward the doorway. The group stumbled after him, the terror compelling them as the shadows lunged forward, hungry and relentless. Tara's heart thundered in her chest, each beat an echo of desperation. They clawed at the walls, shadows racing after them, wanting to trap them in the darkness. She wanted to cry, scream, and fight, but all she could manage was to bolt forward, her feet pounding against the ground. Then came another deafening bang, this time directly behind them, shaking the very structure of the chamber. The sound reverberated like a gunshot through the air, fracturing the moment. They turned to see a massive shadow breaking away from the main mass, barreling toward them, stretching forth its limbs as if reaching to pull them into its depths. Tara pushed past fear, adrenaline surging through her. Don't look back. Keep moving. But as they neared the exit, darkness rolled in like a wave, swallowing everything in its path. Shadows veiled the entrance, and Tara felt her breath catch, her legs falter, trapped. Just as she felt the cold bite of despair, a brilliant flash ignited the room, illuminating the oppressive shadows. Tara shielded her eyes, instinctively knowing something had shifted. What they had hoped was a way out now felt more like a reckoning. And that's when she saw it, a glimpse of red amidst the chaos, flickering against the greenish glimmer of the shadows. Someone or something was standing there, watching, waiting. What did it want? And why had the shadows suddenly hesitated, as if caught in a moment of indecision? As the darkness clawed deeper into the chamber, all hope for escape hung in the balance. Would they find a way through, or would they be consumed by the very fears they had stepped into? Just then, the figure in red took a step forward. Come with me, it beckoned, as the shadows seemed to momentarily retreat. But who was it really? And could it truly be trusted? In that tense moment, Tara felt a wild yearning, the kind that comes when everything hangs in the balance. The figure in red seemed to emanate striking warmth, a beacon amidst the chaos. But could she trust it? A flicker of doubt crossed her mind, but the weight of the shadows behind her left no room for hesitation. Come on, she urged, pulling Sophia and the others toward the figure. The shadows writhed, seeming to sense their movement, growing more desperate as if determined to pull them back. We have to go. The figure extended a hand, and against all instincts, Tara reached for it. The warmth radiated from the figure as she grasped its hand. We can't break apart. Stay together. She shouted to the others. They formed a tight cluster, determined to resist the darkness clawing at them. The figure turned, leading them down a pathway that appeared brighter than the surrounding gloom. They sprinted forward, the sound of despair at their backs growing frantic. As they navigated through the swirling shadows, they found themselves in a vast room filled with mirrors reflecting visions of despair and longing. Each reflection held a story, a fragment of fear they had buried deeply within. Don't let the shadows consume you, the figure said, pulling them closer. Those fears will only bind you if you allow them. Face them. Embrace your truths. The words resonated, igniting something buried within Tara. Everyone, focus. Tara shouted. This is what we run from. We can't let fear dictate who we are. We're better together. With each step, memories crashed against her, moments where loneliness had seeped into her heart, and the suffocating pressure of expectations had drowned her dreams. She turned to Sophia, the light of understanding igniting in their eyes. They were not alone in this. After all, together they would defy the shadows. This is our moment to confront it all, Sophia said, her voice steady. No more hiding. Tara shouted at the others, "Look! What do you see?" Each of them began to face their reflections, the life they wished they could have lived, the connections they longed to forge, the mistakes they dared not speak of. It was raw. It was painful. But with that pain came a strange sense of liberation. The darkness surrounding them shrieked in dismay, swarming but unable to penetrate the strength building in the room. "Trust yourselves," the figure implored, their eyes sparkling with empowerment. "Embrace your truth, feel your strength." The guests began to speak up, sharing their fears and dreams, each confession pushing the shadows back a little further. Amelia, her bravado faltering, finally let her walls crumble. "I have felt so alone in this facade, so afraid to be vulnerable." Tara squeezed Sophia's hand. This was the unity they needed. "I never wanted perfection, I wanted connection," Sophia cried, stepping into her truth with clarity. "Everyone!" Tara shouted, commanding the room's attention. "This darkness can't have power over us if we stand together. We define our truths." As those words spilled from her lips, energy pulsed in the air, a tangible force that seemed to repel the shadows. They writhed and shrieked, struggling against the unified strength. Tara could feel hope bursting in her chest. They were fighting for their own humanity. "Keep going," the figure in red commanded, their presence firm and reassuring. Then came a chorus of voices: the frightened woman, the man, all of them rose to join the fight against isolation. "We are worthy," they proclaimed together, a wave of determination washing over the room. The trust they were forging became a stark wall against the encroaching shadows. Every cry resonated with raw emotion, full of brave vulnerability. And suddenly, all the fears that once loomed so large began to dissolve, leaving a clearing charged with possibility. Just like that, the shadows crumbled, retreating into the hollows from which they came, vanishing into nothingness. The air lightened as a renewed energy filled the room, illuminating smiles through the lingering haze. As the last remnants of darkness vanished, Tara turned to the figure in red, her heart full of gratitude. "Who are you?" A soft smile broke through the figure's countenance. "I am what you choose to believe. Just like those shadows, I am a product of your fears and, yes, your strengths. Trust yourself, and you will always find the light." With each word, they flickered, fading into the backdrop of shimmering hope. Tara and her friends stood spellbound, the euphoria of connection overcoming the weight of their pasts. The door to the chamber swung open, revealing a path to the ballroom, no longer adorned with the weight of expectation. Instead, it was filled with laughter and warmth, and the flicker of humanity illuminated the faces as they emerged from the shadows. Tara took a deep breath, feeling alive, her chest free of the burdens that had weighed her down for too long. She glanced at Sophia, her heart swelling. "We did it. We did." Sophia agreed, her entire being radiating empowerment. As the others stepped forward, a renewed sense of belonging crackled in the air, the kind of acceptance that tears down barriers, where everyone mattered. The night had transformed, and Tara knew their lives would never be the same again. This was just the beginning of a new tale where every voice mattered, and together they could illuminate the darkest of paths. Now, it's time for you to be part of this story. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next chapter. Smash that like button to help the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to feel this connection. This is the moment to show your support.